What is the best example of a major cover-up backfiring? The Soviet Union trying to say that Chernobyl wasn't as big a deal as it actually was. One of my grandparents' neighbors in Poland was a Belarusian guy from one of the closest towns to Chernobyl in Belarus. The plant is basically on the Ukraine/Belarus border, and a huge amount of fallout happened in Belarus. No one was informed until everyone else was, even though they got almost as much fallout as Pripyat. The way he describes it, they were across the border, so they didn't want to share. Even when they did, the Belarusian government maintained the thought process that it wasn't a big deal, like the USSR was claiming. No one was to be relocated. He was a teenager at the time and left for Minsk as soon as he could because of how pissed off the whole thing made him. His whole family stayed except for him, farming away while he was in the city and then moved to Poland after he met his Polish wife. Unsurprisingly, a lot of his family died of cancer. That's both fascinating and heartbreaking. My mum lived in Wales during the fallout and she remembers them killing all the sheep because they were too irradiated. In Wales. 1,400 miles away. Yeah, his entire family is basically dead or recovering from cancer, even some of his niece/nephews, who weren't even born then. It's effed up. While at the same time radioactive clouds were progressing towards Germany, and numerous countries could detect the radiation of dangerous levels. That's just Europe being alarmist. It's not that bad. Honest. 3.6 Roentgen. Not great, not terrible. Ex-UC Davis Chancellor Linda Katie paid $175,000 to have the 2011 pepper spray incident removed from Google search results for the university, which brought the incident back into the public eye and was one of the scandals that eventually led to her resignation. She isn't the only UC chancellor to be exposed as an out-of-touch complete piece of crap. UCSC paid cops to beat and arrest grad students, rather than come to the table during a labor strike over miserable pay rates just before the pandemic hit. Putin becoming used in millions of memes because the Russian government tried to ban his likeness used in memes. Same with the Chinese president and Winnie the Pooh. No way, Pooh too? Oh, bother. I feel this was a backfire. Now we see Putin as some goofy fun guy. As far as I know, the memes were made for exactly this reason. It humanizes him more and makes us laugh. There's also the memes of him being badass and strong. It kind of reeks of propaganda. Volkswagen and the emission dodging. What was surreal was seeing thousands of them sitting in the parking lot of the Silverdome, the old Detroit Lions stadium. I live just south of there and to see VW's mistake next to the derelict stadium was a trip. YouTube link. The crazy part of that story to me was always just how brazen they were about it. If you hear the quick summary, VW realized their system wouldn't pass the emissions test, so they developed software that detected when an emissions test was being conducted, and changed the engine's operation to a mode that was much less fuel efficient, but would pass the test. You would probably think the system was just being tweaked. Maybe normal operating emissions were 1.5x, or something like that. But since it was a scandal, maybe it was more like 3.5x? They couldn't have possibly designed a system that was too far off. They would have gone back to the lab if it was 10x, right? Nope. It was more like 40x the limit. Wasn't that also when they had a huge clean diesel ad campaign? I think that's what contributed the most to the consumer backlash and the class action lawsuits. It was just blatant effery. Yes, I, a TDI owner, 2006 per scandal car, have one of those flyers in my cube wall. The really crafty thing is they decontented the cars to make them cheaper and screwed the emissions pretty well, killing my car's resale. I'm not bitter, nope. For more context, VW's diesel's technology is absolutely capable of being extremely clean and passing emissions all the time, but that would have required customers to refill another fluid around every 800 miles as a NOx scrubber. VW, probably correctly, figured that customers would never bother refilling that crap, and they elected to use the NOx scrubber when software detected an active emissions test, allowing them to sell cars that required no more maintenance than gas and oil changes. I don't know if the vehicles sold to consumers included the NOx scrubber or the necessary chemical catalyst for it. I've always wondered how counties that require emissions checks manage to miss the whole thing, like, VW managed to fool not just the EPA, but also every e-check in California that looks for NOx emissions. Not only that, they managed to fool the German authorities where emission testing is done for every vehicle every 2 years in the entire country. My colleague who sits behind me lies about her emissions too. I think she's on some broccoli and cabbage heavy diet. This comment gets really awkward when you realize they work from home. One of the most shameful examples of corporate behavior in the last decade. And it wasn't just them. Mercedes and others had similar software cheats. Pretty nearly all diesel automakers were found to be cheating. It's kind of an odd thing, really. Their diesels were still very clean, but there seems to have been a feedback loop of automakers overpromising and regulators overregulating until the emissions restrictions for diesel cars were effectively impossible to meet while still providing customers with a usable car. I saved money on my vehicle by not purchasing the warranty, because that's how they get ya. Anywho, after this case, Audi had to give all affected vehicle owners the full, complete warranty for the life of the car. I guess the Streisand effect. For those who don't know, someone took a photo of Barbra Streisand's Malibu home and posted it online. The photo didn't get much attention until Barbra Streisand tried to have the photo blocked for the sake of her privacy. Upon hearing that Streisand wanted the photo removed, the image became forbidden fruit and was viewed millions of times across the internet. If she hadn't tried to cover it up, no one would have looked. The best part is that the photo of Streisand's home was just one of thousands in a series of aerial photographs of the California coastline. The intent wasn't to photograph her home just happened to be in one of the spots that was photographed. Prior to the lawsuit becoming public, the image with her home had been accessed 6 times, and 2 of those were by her own lawyers. How on earth did she/her lawyers even know the photo existed in the first place? Just speculation. But a possible path to discovery could start with Streisand noticing an aircraft passing by at relatively low altitude and suspecting it's there to make pictures. Next step is to collect data on which aircraft flew where to try and identify who operated the aircraft. From that point, the lawyers might have been able to work out the website that is associated with the aircraft operator and search for the photo there. At some point in this process, someone should have obviously asked if it's worth pursuing this any further given that the photos were made by a general interest organization that was documenting the entire coast and not by paparazzi spying on Streisand. Here's the photo. Kenneth and Gabrielle Adelman created the California Coastal Records Project to photograph the entire California coast. Since the formation of the California Coastal Commission in the 1970s, new coastal developments aren't allowed in California. The Coastal Records Project was in part to document the coast to help prevent illegal development. Web link. To me that sounds like her lawyers were on high alert due to illegal development by Streisand. I wonder if anyone took a really close look at the property. Scientists just wanted to photograph coastal erosion, they didn't care who lived where lol. Is Babs going to sing the mudslide down the cliff into the ocean? That might be a credible threat. When it comes to landslides, I'll trust Stevie Nicks. Thank you. This effect has been mentioned so much on Reddit today, now I finally know what it means. Yes, I'm too lazy to look it up. I looked it up, but actually, what happened on Reddit today is a great example of a cover-up backfiring. Lol. That's why the question was asked in the original poster. Look at the subs page. Nearly every post has to do with the whole pedo thing. The term was coined by Mike Mosnick over at the TechDirt blog. Awesome blog for its analysis of both tech and political issues. Thank you. Been meaning to Google this ever since the phrase has been used lately on here. Saved me the hassle. Andrew Cuomo and the COVID nursing home death issue opened the floodgates for not just criticism of his leadership, but it removed the ability for him to retaliate against the peoples he sexually harassed. Well, the sexual harassment seemed to be doing a pretty good job of covering up the nursing home scandal which his administration fraudulently embellished, lied about, and of course covered up about their potential wrongful death civil suit claims that has the potential to destroy his legacy and staff's jobs. Answer: Cover-up going swimmingly actually. He's gone from a liberal hero to a pariah in a few weeks. Let's not let his reprehensible personal behavior detract from the fact that he's also a terrible politician. It's the price you pay when you put politics first. Absolutely nothing would have changed if he just recorded everything properly. Could have blamed it on an oversight from the craziness of COVID and a less than stellar decision. It's the price you pay when you can't keep your dick in your pants. Is it that difficult to try and not F every female in sight? OMG. That is absolutely right. Why can't they keep their disc in their pants? They get some power and suddenly they're invincible? What a bunch of BS. To be honest, he kept his dick in his pants. He just used it to do his thinking and harassing. He was already under public criticism due to his resistance of allow Andy Byford to fix subway system, and his dismantling of the anti-corruption task force that he created, when they started investigating his own connections. A few years back, I think. Tons of memes here, but does anyone remember the Beyoncé photo that her manager demanded be taken down? That worked well. I actually don't know anything about this. What happened? Beyoncé had a kind of unflattering picture of her taken from her Super Bowl performance, and she looked like she was deadlifting a heavy weight or taking a huge dump, and her manager tried to get it removed from the internet, and instead it backfired and became a huge meme. That photo gets reposted on Imgur and 9gag almost every week with the caption reminder that Beyoncé wanted this picture off the internet. Wait, 9gag still exists? I became famous in 9gag once. Yes, I saw. You were doing well until everyone died. Oh cruel fate, to be thusly boned. Ask not for whom the bone bones, it bones for thee. Always upvote Futurama. In always like, aw damn, I have been slacking on watching Futurama, I haven't seen that episode in, well, crap, like a week? You're kind to say that the image was kind of unflattering. You're sweet. It was pretty bad in my opinion. Oh, I see. Thanks. Have to see it as soon as possible then. Don't ask and you shall also receive, web link. This is the best thing I have ever seen. Holy hell, that's hilarious. That was weird. If I deadlifted 405, I'd be pretty stoked about everyone seeing. This one was so dumb. Literally anyone good looking could go on stage for 20 minutes, dance, shake their ass about, and a person online could go through the video and find a dozen still images from the video that are extremely unflattering. Nobody looks perfect all the effing time. Your body is meant to be malleable, and surprise, it moves about in weird ways when you shake it up like a soda can. Yeah, saw a super slow no shot of a karate master breaking bricks and the hand looked like jelly before the bricks smashed. I describe Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein as perpetrators of massive cover-ups that backfired. As of right now, the Epstein cover-up seems pretty successful due to the lack of indictments and convictions considering the alleged scope. I get that Jay was convicted and Ghislaine is in jail, but the amount of people alleged to be involved that are still on cable news networks, holding public office, etc. makes it seem to me as being pretty successful. Hopefully that changes. They have too many powerful friends. People have been uncovering it for years, their superiors have snuffed them out repeatedly. I genuinely believe Jeffrey isn't dead and they just walked him out the building. Unless I see a photo of his dead body, I won't believe it. Eventually, it was a successful cover-up for decades. Epstein, still being swept under the rug, but there's definitely a lot more there. Has anyone kept track of his girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, since she was arrested? Ghislaine Maxwell has been incarcerated since July 2020. According to a recent article on the New York Post, on Monday, March 22, 2021, U.S. District Judge Allison J. Nathan issued a 12-page decision denying Maxwell's latest $28.50 bail package, which included an offer to renounce her British and French citizenships. To summarize, the defendant's willingness to renounce her French and UK citizenship does not sufficiently assuage the court's concerns regarding the risk of flight that the defendant poses, the judge wrote. This is her third time being denied bail since her arrest over the summer. Honestly, once the judge ruled that there would be certain things withheld from the public because they were too shocking, it just confirmed that all the Epstein rumors were true and he had people of power in compromising positions. Withheld from the public because they were too shocking to hell? How does that work? Almost 30 years ago, Court TV had no problem revealing the gruesome murders of Simpson and Goldman along with broadcasting the trial. National Enquirer included barely censored pictures on newspaper stands. WTF would be too shocking. Smells like politicking and money. Remember, sex bad, violence good when it comes to what is permissible on American TV. 30 years ago, the media wasn't owned by 5 people, there was competition between different outlets. Prince Andrew. Check out what's been happening in the Australian Parliament House. What's been happening? What hasn't? Attorney General accused of historical rape, PM says he's an innocent man without having done any investigation. Alleged rape in Parliament House in a female MP's office, guy got shifted on because of security breaches. Multiple members of staff wanked over a female MP's desk, recorded it and shared it around with each other. Just some of the action that came from the AG trying to cover up an historical rape. Oh. And the thousands of women who marched for justice at Parliament House and were told that the PM would only talk to a small delegation if they went into Parliament House, which they obviously were not keen to be doing. Edit. Fixed a word. Edit 2. Correct the dirtbags responsible for wanking on a desk and more dirt. Also the PM saying that women protesting violence and sexual harassment/abuse towards women should be lucky because they're not being shot at. Another MP raping a woman in the Blue Mountains. She may be a sex worker, but she did not consent to penetrative sex. He did not care. Some women in Parliament House are also awful human beings. This is not just the men, it's just majority of men so far who have been outed as flogs. Sex/orgies in meditation rooms and the on-site chapel. What hasn't? I am in awe of your ability to condense the current never-ending crapstorm into 2 words. Don't forget the accusations that various MPs brought sex workers to Parliament House, including the accusations that one of these MPs is currently serving in the federal cabinet. You missed the bit where the PM opened his address on the march by reminding the public that we were lucky to be able to protest without being shot at and that we should be grateful for it. Crap is wild as F. Also the fact that the Australian PM was being interviewed by a News Corp journalist about it, who he got mad at and said, "Well, your organization isn't going to well either." A journalist was sexually assaulted in the women's bathroom. The PM and News Corp are now saying he was wrong. So just a massive smelly boys club. I believe they call themselves the Big Swinging Dicks Club. The response to COVID-19. PBS has a nice retrospective doc on YouTube detailing the evidence that the Chinese government knew that had a new SARS-like virus among the public, and all of the lengths they took to forbid any information being shared about it, mostly because they didn't want to cause any public panic. Obviously a backfire as it led to the massive crap show that was 2020. The first time I heard about COVID-19 was from a viral video posted by some everyman Chinese doctor in a hazmat suit. I didn't hear any news about it until a few weeks later. You are talking about Dr. Li Wenliang. He went on all social media networks in early December 2019 trying to warn people that China was covering up a deadly virus from the rest of the world. Shortly after that, he was arrested by the CCP. Later he mysteriously dies from supposed COVID-19 complications. Web link. The Chinese government is just in general a piece of crap. First I heard of it was January 2020 when my boss, who is always looking at random Snapchats from around the world, stumbled across a clip of a dead body being removed from a building by people in hazmat suits. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.